You killed Captain Clown!
As luck would have it, one of America's two most powerful villains of the next decade
is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Don't touch that!
The villains themselves were ultimately responsible for much of the popularity. Audiences love to hate.
What's up, Bat fans? I'm Justin Daly.
And I'm Eli Wilbur.
This is the Villains of YouTube.
Alright, so if you watched our last episode, you know that we were really hyping up the premiere of Gotham. That was the most of what we talked about. Well, now it's aired. People are talking, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about Gotham. That's all we're gonna talk about. So if you tuned in to hear us talk about Apple or how the iPhone's bending, no.
If you tuned in to talk about anything other than Batman, then
you're an idiot. We're gonna talk about Gotham, and that's all we're gonna talk about. So let's go right into it. Let's just dive in. What do you think, man? Yeah, you were skeptical when we last talked about it.
I was skeptical. It was a little bit better than I thought. It's only one episode, so I don't want to jump the gun here and say, oh, this is fantastic. It's another Breaking Bad, another Walking Dead, because we can't tell. And to think about that, it's like the first time I watched Walking Dead, the first episode, was not invested. I agree. So it's hard to judge a show off the first episode, but I was very satisfied. It was dark, it was gritty. I like the characters. I like where it's going. I like it.
Great.
Where it's going.
So we're just gonna talk a little bit about what we thought, what we were kind of hoping for, things that we got, things that we didn't get. One of the things I kind of thought we were gonna see or get out of this. Again, I'm gonna touch back on what we were talking about earlier, Batman Earth 1. If you've read Batman Earth 1, it's a wonderful take on the Batman universe. It's kind of the same thing what they did with Superman Earth 1, where they retold the origins a little bit, put it into a more realistic world for us. Batman Year One, or not Batman Year One, Batman Earth 1.
Yeah.
They introduced this character called the Birthday Boy, and he's this psychopath who, whenever the Penguin needed someone taken care of, he sends him to the Birthday Boy. And the Birthday Boy is this big, creepy dude in an executioner's mask. And we kind of see a guy who kind of looks like him in Gotham. I thought that was going to be him.
Where? I don't remember that.
When Gordon and Bullock are hanging in the butcher shop, that guy comes out wearing the mask.
Yes.
I thought that was Birthday Boy, but then they killed him too quickly for us to know.
See, I thought it was one of the villains from Resident Evil 4. With the potato sack and the chainsaw.
Yeah.
The first thing I see is Resident Evil.
Totally.
We're like, there's a bunch of meat hanging. I'm like, all right, they threw the Resident Evil guy in there. Why not?
They're just going to throw in all kinds of weird characters.
They do whatever they want over there, Fox.
Weirdos. That's kind of what I was expecting, but we got a lot of cool stuff out of it. Let's go into those points real fast. Selena Kyle, a.k.a. a young Catwoman. That's the first character we open with.
Yes.
You're still a little skeptical of where they're going with her.
There's a couple of characters I'm not 100% sure about. Sure. And I just don't know what they're going to do with Selena Kyle. I did at first have a problem with her witnessing the Wayne murder. It was... I can't explain what was wrong with it. I mean, maybe it was just so unfamiliar to me that I was like, I don't know.
We've never seen it that way.
Never seen it that way before. But I did find it interesting that in the show, it was, it starts off with Selena Kyle running around stealing some things, and then like she crosses over a rooftop, and when she comes out the other side, it's like, oh look, Thomas and Martha Wayne are getting murdered.
Yeah, murder is happening now.
The show starts before the first commercial break happened. It was like, bam, here we go. Wayne's murdered. Show takes off from there, and I really like that.
That's it.
That was exciting.
It's a great way to start the show. It's a great way to immediately pull you in because even if you're not a Batman fan and you're watching the show, you're like, oh, stuff's going down. Things are happening. Yeah. They're picking up immediately.
Happening immediately.
And
that's what I liked about it.
As a Bat fan, that to me is where the downfall of Gotham really begins.
Well, yeah.
Is the death of those two characters.
Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, pretty much
sums it up for you.
You find out that's
why Gotham...
After that murder, that's when the freaks show up.
That's when everything starts going bad. So it was a great way to start it off. All right, another character. Let's think of another character that we got to see. All right, well, let's talk about the main characters, Gordon and Bullock.
Yeah.
Bullock, for those who aren't familiar with the comic books, Bullock is a character in the comic books and in the animated series, which is why we were so excited to see him, because we grew up on the animated series in a way. And Bullock is this cop who he hates Batman. He's skeptical of Batman. He doesn't trust him. And in this iteration of Bullock, he's a bad cop.
Yeah.
He's a dirty
well,
cop.
If I remember correctly, I don't remember which comic, but Bullock started off in the comics as a dirty cop, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right, yeah.
Somebody correct me on YouTube.
Yeah, let us know. If we get anything wrong, tell us.
Tell us.
And then we'll yell at you.
But I've never seen Bullock in any of the live action representations of Batman.
Never.
It's always been the comics. You see
Right.
Bullock and he's always just gritty and nasty.
He's always eating a hot dog.
Even in Batman the Animated Series, he wasn't as gritty and dark, but he was still filthy.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember specifically Batman saying one time, he's like, "Oh, Bullock's donut flakes,
Right.
contaminated the scene here." But I like where they're going with Bullock. It was like immediately they didn't have to say who he was. It was like, "Oh, there's Bullock." Yes,
There's
about
Bullock.
friggin' time we
Yeah.
get to see some Bullock action. And I think that this series. It's smart for them to have it in there because it's like, it's already familiar to me. It's like, oh,
Right.
look, there's Bullock. He's filthy, but now we have room for change.
Yeah.
Because you can already see that even though he's in this filthy limelight,
He wants to be a better cop.
he still has some
glimmer of
feelings
hope.
for Gordon.
He's got a glimmer of hope in him.
as his partner. And
Yeah.
he's still a little bit leaning towards the side of Law and Order and police.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit.
It's a character who fans who fans are familiar with, but people who aren't as hardcore as us, they're not familiar. So it's a character that they can kind of watch progress and evolve.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Gordon. We don't want to talk about Gordon too much because we already know who Gordon is in the comic books. We've seen him in the movies. I'm a fan of Ben McKenzie as this character. I think he's already got a great run ahead of him. I think he's going to be cool. All right, so then we see a young Poison Ivy.
Young Poison Ivy. Really, I'll be honest, there wasn't much going on there.
There wasn't much going on.
It's one episode.
We get to see why she already hates the police.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Edward Nygma. We get to see a little bit of the Riddler for the first time.
If any of the characters were taken pretty much out of their element a little bit, it seems like Edward Nygma was like kind of just like not the typical
Placed in.
Riddler that we all
Right.
know and love, but I'm interested in a change.
I got a kick out of it. Yeah, I got a kick out of it. Kind of seeing him like try to hold in the riddles. That was fun. Then we see the Penguin for the first time.
Yes.
we're
My favorite
a fan,
character.
yeah.
My favorite
He's a great
character
character.
of the new Gotham show so far is the Penguin. I love him.
You can tell immediately that this season's going to focus on his uprising of him. If you haven't put it together, what do penguins eat?
Fish.
They eat fish.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to this new character that Gotham brings in, Fish Mooney.
Yeah.
Played by Jada Pinkett Smith. I don't know where they're going to go with this. I can already tell you it's probably going to be glorious when the Penguin finally takes over. Which we already know that's... Spoiler alert! If you don't have a clue of where this is going, I think Penguin's going to take over Fish Mooney's empire and become the new boss of crime in Gotham. So that I thought that was cool when we see him take that first swing and smile. He enjoyed the violence.
When somebody finally gave him a chance to act and they handed him that baseball bat, it was like a club, more like I don't remember quite if it was a baseball bat or a club, but you saw how excited he got when he was beating that guy's face.
He was having a good time with it.
Which is very surprising to see on network television. But they're taking that step towards that. But it reminded me of the video game. It reminded me of the Batman Arkham games.
If we were to take that scene and then fast forward to Arkham Origins, the video game, there's a scene where the Penguin is beating the crap out of Alberto Falcone, and he's just working him over, and he's having a great time doing it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see someone do a super cut of these little fast forward moments and seeing them evolve. Maybe we'll do it, or you should do it. But it's really great to see the beginnings of these characters. We haven't explored that enough in the movies or TV shows.
Right.
it's a relationship that needs to be deeper than just, oh, I'm a bad guy, you're a good guy, so we have to hate each other. It's more about what really happened.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they're making Bullock and Gordon responsible for the death of Poison Ivy's dad, that already sets her up to be a villain.
Right.
Already, right there.
Right.
Revenge. And then she's going to go crazy and have plant powers, so that's cool too. What are you really excited to see in the future if you know, the show's obviously going to take off and it's going to go more into different villains? Name me 2 villains who you really want to see them hit.
I would like to see, if at all possible, because I've never seen him in live action, Killer Croc. It might be a step too into the freaks and to the bizarre world, but it would be nice to just hint at that.
The creators have said that they are going to do Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
Which I feel is kind of a far-fetched character. So if they're going to do Freeze...
So where I'd like to see them go with Gotham is a route that maybe like a lot of shows don't feel safe taking.
Right.
And it's where we start off in this kind of like realistic world where we get to be introduced to these characters, but then we start to creep into like another format to where it's like, okay, the freaks are coming out. Gotham's getting darker. Like,
we get a little bit more... not too much like it, but a little bit more the way Arrow is, where we start to see more kind of unrealistic scenarios happen.
Right. It goes from realistic to where like Gotham breaks down and it starts to become a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, creep us in to us buying your bullshit.
Sure.
That would be a really interesting thing for me.
I think that would be cool. I'm excited. I was more interested in what you thought because you were the skeptic. You put Batman or Gotham in the title, and I'm in. Bruce Wayne, the young Bruce Wayne. I love the Chris Nolan versions, but I think my favorite iteration of young Bruce Wayne is this one right now.
I enjoyed him.
Yeah. We're not gonna see much of him, but I
like how he doesn't take this turn of like becoming like just afraid of the world. Like immediately he wants vengeance.
Yes.
Even as a kid.
When he says, "Good, I'm glad my parents' killers are not dead, because I want to." He doesn't say it, but I want to see him again.
Yeah,
I want to see him
again. I want him to be afraid of me.
Exactly.
You know, the way I was afraid of him. And for me, it's, you know, I know that we've talked about this before to where we don't care if films are realistic or not.
No.
But if we're looking for a realistic approach, I think it's realistic that
this kid's
Bruce Wayne
revenge.
Is starting his training right now. As a child. You know, he's becoming a Jedi right now. Yoda would be like, okay, this one's young enough. Because he's always complaining that they're too old.
Too old to be a Jedi. Well, this guy, he's ready. You know, we see the funeral scene. I believe, I don't know, you know, maybe they'll go into it more, but I believe that at that funeral scene, when he's at the casket, that's where he makes the vow. Yeah, that's where he makes the vow to himself.
I think my last note about like where this show should go, I think they should treat it like they treated Harry Potter. Let's follow this actor from childhood, and then by the time he's 18, 19, let's turn him into Batman, and let's make Gotham still be the Gotham show,
but we start seeing
Batman.
We start seeing a vigilante in the shadows. Maybe he's not Batman yet. Maybe he's just a guy wearing a mask trying to become Batman, and then we see the evolution of Batman. There are 2 ways that I know this is going to end. One, you know, probably we'll reveal who the Joker is, and 2, Gordon will get his mustache. It's kind of like the way Smallville ended. You know, we knew that Smallville would end when Clark Kent finally puts on the suit. Gotham ends when Gordon finally gets his mustache. Right.
That's his costume.
That's his cape. That's his.
You are now commissioner, which means part of the contract you get a mustache. Yeah. You know, and they're just gonna pin it right on him, right next to his medal.
Exactly. Obviously, we're excited. We can't wait to see where it goes. We'll probably talk about some more when they air the next episode. This may become a regular segment. Tell us what you guys think. Tell us what you think of Gotham, and tell us if you'd like to see us talk more about Gotham.
And it's okay to be skeptical about this show. A lot of people out there are reviewing it. They're a little skeptical.
Everyone's skeptical. You can't judge a show by the
I'm a little
pilot.
skeptical. You know, I gotta see. You gotta give me about 5 to 10 episodes before I'm like, yes, you're doing it, or no, I hate you.
Right. Either way, I'm excited to take this journey with these creators to see where they take Batman and where they take Gotham. It's going to be cool. So, you know, tell us what you think. Tell us your thoughts, and tell us if you want us to keep reviewing the show. If you don't, we'll do something else. We'll do what we're always
We'll just film these episodes and not air them.
Yeah, we'll watch them ourselves.
Watch them ourselves, and
we're egotistical and like to do that. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, I'm Eli Wilbur.
I'm Justin Daly.
And this has been The Villains of YouTube.
Kill Captain Clown. You kill Captain Clown.